Cyclone Nation, what better way to kick off the 2025 college football season than cheering on your Cyclones in the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, Ireland? Whether it's a quick trip to Dublin for the game, a multi-city adventure throughout the Irish countryside, or premium game day hospitality, there is a package for you. Visit cyclones2ireland.com for information on official travel and hospitality packages. That's Cyclones, the number 2, Ireland.com.
Welcome in to a victory kicking it. It's our third victory kicking it. Hopefully we'll have a lot more of them. Iowa State, the 52-7 thorough ass kicking of Arkansas State, which was a really, a little unexpected as far as the total ass kicking nature. As always on Kicking It, we are brought to you by Kelderman Manufacturing, Kelderman.com. I know Jeff Kelderman was tailgating. There's the logo right there, the Circle K. So if you ever see that Circle K for those YouTube viewers, if you have an RV, if you had an RV like Kelderman does, or if you have an RV and you want it kind of spec'd out or anything fixed or customized on it, Saturday would have been a good day to have an RV as far as tailgating is concerned. Boy, we watched this one together, Grant. We held hands the entire time.
We did.
Sitting in front of Jared Barnett and with Gerard Black and we had Jameson Locke, but Chris Klenakis only called him Jason the entire time, so I now just call him Jason.
Why don't you guys close the yearbook?
Still haven't gotten the signatures from everybody, but it was fun.
Did you have people like sign your crack on your yearbook, and people say, "I signed your crack"?
No, yearbooks aren't really a thing anymore.
Really?
At
what point did yearbooks stop becoming a thing?
But it was, I don't know. This is just at my high school.
Oh.
We had them, but it wasn't like you'd give it around and people sign it or anything.
Wow, you're going to wish you had them in about 20 years.
I have one, just not signed.
I'm going to go, who is that? And that's basically the experience as you go. I think that's Justin. That's it. Grant, what were your thoughts on that frying pan of a game?
Man, frying pan is for sure. I got roasted again, second week in a row, but I did bring my neck fan, so that helped a little bit.
Which I don't know. Someone was sarcastically trash talking, not your neck fan, but just neck fans generally not knowing that you were wearing a neck fan. And I vehemently defended the neck fan because why not? You wear it around your neck and it's like blowing up towards your ears, jowls, kind of cooling off the neck, the face. Extremely nice.
Yeah, I bought it for beekeeping because I get hot in my beekeeping suit, my jacket. And so I just kind of have it right above the collar and it keeps me warm, keeps the bees off of my face. Some people get mad. No, you're taking out honey and cheating. But I was like, I saw someone at the first game wearing a neck fan. I was like, oh, I should have brought mine. I did, and it was clutch. There was a little bit of a breeze throughout the game.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but it's like looking up into a solar eclipse. That sun was just brutal.
Yeah, it was just, luckily it was a 1 o'clock game for a really nice hot day where the sun doesn't really get behind anything. It just sits over top of the game the entire time.
And then we fall into like perfect 70-degree weather for like the foreseeable future. It's like, what the hell? Why couldn't this come back like, why couldn't the day be like, the game be like a day later or it hotter a day earlier?
Yeah, if luckily for the team, though, they get to play in Houston this week.
Yeah. Should not be muggy at all down there.
Not hot, not muggy. Legit thing I was just thinking about, is there any like weather threat? Isn't there something like living in the Gulf that might have to, is there a consideration? Aiden, you want to look up just like potential weather and if there's any news on that? Because that feels like
Is it hurricane season?
Yeah, it is. Oh. Hurricane season runs, I think, like July-ish to like November. So I think there is something that's, I don't know where it's necessarily going, but we'll see what the weather is. Aiden, by the end of probably the next 7 minutes, will give something. Iowa State, like I said, is very easily victorious. And I mentioned that it wasn't something I was really expecting because we've seen this movie before and Iowa State would get up, let's say they get up 21-0 and then they start to just like sleeper hold, just forearm under the throat. And we're going to win this game 28-3. Going to put the backups in with 45 seconds to play just so they can get a snap or two. Backups are playing with 11 minutes to play in the third. And it was 35 to, it was a game. It was over middle of the first quarter.
Yeah, they had a guy on their team who was chirping at us after they got that pick, and we let him know it's about to get ugly, buddy. You get your words in now because it's about to go. He got quiet quick.
Yeah,
that was it. Number 6.
It was number 23.
Okay, because number 6 was talking the entire game after everything.
It was number 23.
He was a linebacker, I think.
He didn't play much.
think
He was on their punt
He was on
team.
the special teams. But yeah, it was so Stephen Rumpelhammer is a defensive lineman. Was next to us as well, and Rump can project his voice. Grant can project his voice. I wasn't as much a part of it. Still took a little bit of part in it. But just the trash talk from the stands to the sideline was really funny. Like, it wasn't meant to be like, "Hey, you're a piece of." It was just like, it was more comical. And you know what you need to not do if you're on the sideline? Engage.
He sure did.
He sure did, and that was not good.
Later on in the game, as soon as they got the ball on first down, I would say punt team ready. And at one point, he heard me and nodded his head. Like, "You're so right. Yep, we're about to go 3 now. Like we had the last 4 possessions." He didn't talk the rest of the game. We were right by, which I thought was kind of cool. Their punting team, they had like a little
Well, it was
mobile
just
booth.
it was where it wasn't even necessarily the special team specifically,
Yeah.
but it was just where the iPads and the tablets, where their little command center of that
Yeah.
was.
And we were right there, and after every punt, they would come and look at it, and we let their punter know when Darian Porter blocked the first punt. You got it. That's slow op time. You got to watch for number 10. Watch for number 10. But their punter was a dog. He was hitting some absolute nukes.
You know what's funny though is number 58. He's one of their offensive linemen. He was on their shield. He was laughing at the
At one
trash talk.
point, he mouthed, "I love fans."
It was Rump. You and Rump were that was solid. Solid trash talk.
He would hit nukes, but he needed a little more hang time. And at one point, I told him like, "Hey, 47, like just like me with my wife, you outkicked your coverage, bud." And Jalen Noel had some good returns.
Yeah, there were solid returns. There was 3 kick returns for 59 yards. Like, that's a pretty damn good average.
Yeah.
You're not probably going to get that in Big 12 play, but
Maybe versus Baylor, their punter leads the country in punt yards.
Ooh.
But we'll get to that next week.
But the thing that's nice is that there's an aggressiveness to actually return it.
Yeah.
That for the most part, broadly speaking, the game was very well done by Iowa State on almost all respects. Where I would give them B grades would be kickoffs were you could tell they were trying something. So
Throughout a lot of phases, they were.
so they were trying a lot of stuff, especially once the game got up to like 21-0, 28-0, or whatever it was, however the math ended up. They started trying to kick one to the 0.01 yard line because it forces a return unless you want to fair catch it. So it's kind of daring the return team to return it and thinking that you're going to cover it. That didn't work one time. Like Shackford. So Jace Gilbert was the one that was doing most of those kind of pooch kickoffs. When they wanted to crank one through the uprights, Shackford was in there just to pound it. But when they wanted to put it down at like the 0 yard line, Gilbert did that. And then Shackford tried to do it one time, but it was at like the 12. And that return, I think that got brought out to like near the 40 yard line. So they were trying, instead of just booting it through the end zone, trying situations where live coverage, can we cover a kickoff, and actually practicing that just in case someone mishits it or whatever, or if they want to try and actually force the team to return it. So I like that they were trying it. But I would say punting was, I would give a B grade, which you only have 2 instances. So it's hard. If one's bad, it's hard to do. And then I think Rocco was probably, that was a B grade.
It wasn't
Rocco.
his best game.
He
didn't need to be his best.
Yeah, but I would say those 3, like the nice thing is you can just roll a team and have and not play perfect. Like they played really well, but they didn't play perfect, and you can still beat a team 52-7.
Yeah, and people don't always realize what the wind is like on the field. Jack Trice said swirls. I mean, especially when we were there and the end zones were not bowled in, it swirls really bad. And it was swirling. It was swirling on Saturday. If you look at the flags at the top, some are going one way, some are going the other way. So you get that kickoff just right. It's going to kind of float, almost like a rise ball in softball. It's going to kind of float, and I think that's what Gilbert we saw on one of his kickouts where it's kind of floating.
Yeah, great trajectory.
Yeah, and you'd mention it live. You're like, ooh, like that ball looked like it went in the end zone by like 6 inches from our vantage point. And
that's what you want out of that kick.
Yeah.
If you're going to attempt that, you don't want it in the end zone because that provides an out. If you want it in the end zone, bang it into the 3rd row of the stands. If you want to put it that high and you want to dare them to return
hitting
it,
like a deep sky ball. You just want to hit it and there's enough wind to kind of let it carry.
Yeah, you're hitting. That's a lob wedge. That's not a driver. You're trying to hit that one really, really high and dare the return team to return it. So I like that they were doing that, and I like the aggressiveness of punt return. So like special teams wise, and then Conrady, I mean,
dog
automatic. through the kicks that he was in, none of them were really that far. So it's not like he was challenged that much on his kicks, but operations looked good. I think it was a nice for that aspect. Again, other than I thought Rocco was okay, which we'll get to. There was 2 punts. One of them wasn't great, which shake that one off. Even Scotty Scheffler shanks a ball, and like I said, the kickoff cover was okay. But other than that, I mean, really, really well executed. They ran for 237 yards.
Yeah, and I mentioned that I thought Abu would have 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I like what they did better. They really spread out because you're about to enter Big 12 play where it's going to be physical. You're going to need running backs.
Someone's going to get rolled up on.
Someone might get rolled up on. Someone might get dinged up. You're going to have Jackson and Carson and Abu, maybe even Dylan Lee. You're going to have those 4 guys play at some point. So I like that all 4 guys and Aiden Flora, the walk-on, he got himself a touchdown, which I think Cam was kind of pissed at, but good for him. He was the scout team quarterback all week, so it's nice for scout team guys, walk-ons, freshmen, however you want to slice it up to get a touchdown. Again, I don't think Campbell's too happy, but if he saw his opportunity, go get it, kid. You may not get one again the rest of the year.
That was me being a walk-on running back who was on scout team all week, and I don't think I ever got the opportunity to get carries in a throwaway game. I mean, if I did, it was sort of like 1 carry against Western Illinois. But would you get that chance?
You go for it,
man. I'm
just like Cade Kelderman in the Big 12 championship game.
Oh, shot a 3. Yeah, heave it.
Launched it and he cashed it.
Yeah,
you got to do that.
Nail it. I mean, if you have the chance to take it. Special teams wise, I only did hidden yards for the first half because, like I said, backup started rotating in 11 minutes in the third quarter. So basically, anything after that, it's sort of a crapshoot. With I don't want to include it necessarily in the statistics. So half of the game through just halftime, hidden yardage.
Aiden, I'll let you go first.
I'm gonna go with Iowa State plus 90.
Okay, Grant.
I'm gonna say Iowa State plus 119.
Iowa State plus 79.
Dang it, Aiden.
That's
good.
3 for 3.
It's good.
Okay.
They had the interception really was the one thing. So the interception was returned back to their 43, which was kind of it would be 18 yards further than what they normally would be, which would put it right around you're right about 100. But the thing that was nice about that, the worst field position that Iowa State started with was the 20. And so they were good every time. So they had 25, started in the 25, started in the 40, started in the 45, started in their 20, started on their 35, started in their 34, then started in the opponent's 16 after Cooper's interception. So that was special teams.
Well,
dominant.
what about Verdon's interception?
That was second half.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I think it was right away in the second half, but I just didn't count that one.
I liked, it was good to see Jalen Travis, Dalen Hastert, and
Hastert?
Yep. And Trevor Burr all out there to they played well. I mean, Jalen Travis, he's going to be good.
Yeah.
He was kind of they rotate him in with the first team and when the backups were coming in
just to get him snaps, I think.
Yeah, but he the first snap I saw him, he just kind of dropped back, let the guy come to him, and just threw him down. It was that's a man.
It was a pass rush and just stuck. Just a stuck pass rush.
Also, I want to give a shout out to Coach Campbell tying Coach McCarney for all-time wins in Iowa State football history.
Which 9 years, right? This is 9th season.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah, because McCarney was there for longer than 9.
McCartney was there from 1996? I think 96 or 97. I mean, before my time, and then the last year would have been 2000.
I think he was 95.
So 95, and then his last year would have been 2006 because in 2007 and 8 were Chiswick.
Yeah.
And then 9 was Rhodes. So
95 to 06.
So it'd be 11 years. So he tied him in 2 less seasons.
Yeah. Although
without the Big 12 North.
But I will say that
against.
McCartney took over just an absolute dog shit program.
It's two different situations, totally.
People look at McCartney as resurrecting, and he did build the foundation, and hats off to him. Amazing coach. Obviously, he went on to do great things at the schools he was at. And then Coach Rhodes kind of, built the momentum, and then Campbell just kind of rode the wave of both and took it to another level. So I hope fans really appreciate the era we're in right now. The younger fans, I think, are spoiled because they're not used to a 5-7, a 2-10. 2-10, they're going to lose their head. We were 2-10 my freshman year. We're like, oh well.
We're 3-9 my senior year.
Yeah.
Cool. At one point, we're 1-8.
Yeah. So I hope fans really appreciate just how good Campbell is, and if God forbid we have a 6-6 season coming up, which I hope we don't. I hope we're kind of still on that trajectory. I hope fans aren't calling for his head because Campbell will be the greatest coach.
But he's on the hot seat, remember?
Yeah.
Sticker face guy?
Yeah. Hot seat. But I hope fans realize that Campbell is the greatest coach to ever beat Iowa State, and we are very blessed to have him.
Yeah, and I think this is also just another, both men's and women's basketball teams were recognized this weekend. Can we just, again, it's always nice to take time to recognize a moment before it's past that enjoy the shit out of this year as a Cyclone fan.
Got a chance to be very special.
Because
Final Four is the floor.
Final Four is the floor. I would, for both? Are we going for both?
Yes.
Okay. So you have the capacity. If I said Iowa State is going to be ranked in the top 5 in football at some point this year, you wouldn't look at me with 4 eyes. Like you go like, oh, okay, it's a little bit of a stretch, but not too far.
Yeah.
If I said the basketball team, either basketball team is going to be ranked inside the top 3, you'd be like, yeah, okay, I can see it. Wrestling program is going to be ranked top 3, top 2.
Yep.
That's fine. All the same year at the same time with coaches that have turned down chances to go elsewhere and be at Iowa State.
Loyal
so like
Sons forever true.
This is I would say almost not even arguably the best year / best time to be a fan. The only other one would be like 2001, but this football team is going to be, I think, has the potential to be way better than that team.
So if Iowa State wins, which I expect them to versus Houston. We'll get to that in a little bit here. When they beat Houston, they'll be 4-0 for only the 3rd time in program history, first time since 2000. And Iowa State has never started 5-0. So not put the cart in front of the horse, but beat Houston and then got a chance to beat Baylor at home. Everyone buy a ticket for that game if you have not. It should be a whiteout, which I hope those bastards don't wear their white uniforms because Baylor did that to Colorado.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's definitely going to happen that way.
Sure will. And then, you know what? Campbell's going to use that to pump it up, which then you might just go black. You might just have a white on black game and kind of a monochromatic, back and forth, which would be kind of cool. But if you haven't bought a ticket for that, do it. October 5th, whiteout game. Should be fun. Under the lights on Fox.
Big Fox, yeah.
Big Fox.
Big Fox.
Oh, man. Too bad I couldn't get Fleeker for that.
Oh, we could try.
We should text him.
We could try. About this game specifically, because I think it's hard to take too much from this game because of how much of a thorough ass kicking it was.
For me, it was very much what I wanted to see versus North Dakota. I like that they tried a lot of new things, kind of that fake QB sneak that they tossed to Bramer, one-handed snag, dog.
Unreal catch.
He had a great game. I liked that they opened up the playbook a little bit because give their teams and new opponents, give them new stuff to scout. Give them new stuff to worry about. I thought it was a really great, really nicely called game, and it was good to see us just beat the dog out of a team.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure,
No.
Aiden.
Nope.
So regarding the QB sneak specifically, some people are like, why would you run that against Arkansas State? What do you guys think of running that against a team like that?
The longer answer to the reason, sort of long answer to this. When we talk about in week 1, you don't want to put much on film, and then we say you want to put stuff on film, like two opposite statements. It's not necessarily, it's what you're putting on film. So in week 1, when you're preparing to get your basics down, like against North Dakota, you don't want to show Iowa all these formations so they then have the mental Rolodex of things that they could do. So they go, they're in 3-by-1 with the tight end as the point person on the 3-by-1. If they do this, they only have 3 routes that they've run out of it. Here's what we're going to do. Well, if you've only run 3 routes out of it, but you've got like 12 in the bag, they start putting too many eggs in one basket. By this time in the season, you've seen enough of the opponent that you kind of have sort of an idea of what you get it. And when you get in certain situations, when you have a pretty clear expectation and you now start to show a new wrinkle. So things like a quarterback sneak that becomes a pass. How do you defend against a quarterback sneak? Is you put 14 dudes between the guards and you just push the center of the guard and the guard.
Just have guys just nosedive.
Nosedive and push as hard as you can back. Well, now they've shown that they've got a 6'6" tight end that they can throw the ball down to. So you got to at least pull.
We'll have 1 or 2 defenders that won't be in the box.
That aren't going to be in the box, that aren't going to be down there, that now just pulls a little bit of attention on a very specific look out to.
You know what I would do now too, Jeff? We got that in there. So now if you fake the sneak, you have Bramer kind of run his route, and then you have Rocco fake the sneak, and then just kind of a little
pitch.
Yep, out to
He
Hansen.
fakes the sneak. No, he thinks about faking. I don't know where we are.
I like that because now the team, like I said, teams have to respect one, the sneak that maybe they don't stack the box. Two, if you do stack the box, watch out for Raymer. Two, stack the box, watch for Raymer. Oh, Hansen.
Yeah. So there's
or a boo.
Oh God. It feels like the nice thing about it was they were really aggressive. There's also it's one of those that never as good as it seems, it's never as bad as it seems. Like we're all living in the halo of kicking the piss out of a team. That's fun. But when you go to watch film, I'm sure there are times like when Hansen got caught for the first, like right before his first touchdown, he missed a cut. He made a decent cut, but he missed the timing of it. Like his path was a little bit wrong. So you're gonna go back and watch that on film and be like, hey, this is a great play. Congratulations. And then Rocco threw a pick, underthrew that ball by about 12 yards. And stuff like that you still learn from, and you go into the season, or you go into the rest of the season not getting too high on the hog of being like, oh man, we were great. Yeah, you also threw a pick. Like, you also gave up a touchdown, which a little bit of an announcer's jinx on that one. I was talking about.
You sure did.
I'll take that. But I still am gonna hold up the statistics here because Iowa State currently is the best defense in the Big 12. Granted, competition they've been playing, it's not that bad. Like I will. Before this week, I was like, man, you're only playing North Dakota and Iowa. Iowa in games not playing against Iowa State has scored 40, 38, and 31.
Their offense stinks though, Jeff.
They have the leading rusher in the country. It's okay to say nice things.
No,
it is.
No.
The better they are, the better that win looks.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The better they are, the better that win looks.
Caleb Johnson's gotten the ball the second most of anybody in the country. I would hope he's leading the country in rushing yards.
Well, they haven't in the past.
He's sixth in the country in yards per carry.
And they also, Iowa State held him inside the 5-yard line on 8 plays with 0 points.
That's right.
Or
he stinks.
6 plays with
I'm just kidding.
3, whatever.
He is good.
But Iowa, they really good rush defense. They can't throw for shit. North Dakota, better than we expected. Still not a passing team.
I think they're undefeated since losing us, though.
Still, but like they're very much more of a ground game team. Sure. So Iowa State hasn't played a lot of teams that are going to air it out much. They're not going to play one again on Saturday. They probably won't play a team that's going to air it out much until they get to Baylor, and even then, it's kind of sorta. But Iowa State right now, even through this game, they gave up 1 garbage time touchdown. So far, the cumulative statistics, if you include the garbage time, Iowa State is giving up an average of 47% completion percentage on defense. So opponents are averaging 13 completions a game. Not great. Really good for a defense. So
that's good for defense.
47% completion percentage. They've given up 1 touchdown, which was a garbage time diving catch in the end zone. They've got 5 interceptions.
1 passing touchdown.
1 passing touchdown, yeah. So they've given up 47% completions, 1 passing touchdown, and have 5 interceptions.
The starters have not given up any.
The starters have not given up a single passing touchdown. In as far as the Big 12 defenses rank, Iowa State is the top defense. Utah is like barely. It's Iowa State's giving up an average, a cumulative average of 260 yards a game. Utah is giving up 260.8 yards per game. So it's 1-2. But either way, passing, Iowa State's giving up 112 yards passing. Per game.
Yeah.
I mean, the defense, we kind of got like, we were like, oh, they stink. Oh, they gave up a 12-minute drive to North Dakota. Okay, we figured that out.
After Bacon died, so.
Yeah. So you have the green dot, right, immediately substituting. You had a brand new freshman that hasn't really called that before, and then they figured it out over time. So Iowa State's defense was stellar on Saturday, and I expect them to do that going into this next upcoming week. I don't know if there's necessarily too many takeaways from that. I just want to like shout out the fact I did jinx it because I had said during the game Iowa State still hasn't given up a passing touchdown. Then what do? Give up a passing touchdown.
Sure did.
But starters still haven't given a passing touchdown, and they'll probably do that on Saturday. But I'm just gonna unjinx the jinx.
So I
can't triple stamp, I'll double stamp.
No, you sure can't. I saw a tweet by one of the Houston beat writers that said Willie Fritz. Willie Fritz is actually the coach of Houston.
I said Willie Taggart.
Willie Taggart is great coach. He's currently the running back coach.
I apologize
Baltimore Ravens.
to the Fritz estate.
Yes. So to Willie Fritz, he basically
former
said
Tulane coach.
Yes. And Willie Taggart is former Florida State coach. And Oregon, I think, right?
Yeah, and Oregon. Yeah.
But Fritz, not
Fritz.
Taggart.
Yes. William.
A lot of Willies. Willie joke. Willie Fritz, he had told one of the beat writers that basically they're not sold on their quarterback. That they don't know if Donovan Smith will be the quarterback for Iowa State. kind of basically said, we're going back to the drawing board. Nothing's working. So they've played 3 quarterbacks. Donovan Smith is been the starter for all 4 of their games. But when they played UNLV and lost, they had a quarterback, a sophomore. His first name is UI. I'm not sure if I pronounce that. We Ale.
Ale?
Yeah, I don't know. And
anyway.
So he did okay. And I poked around the message boards, and that's kind of who they were calling for. But even last game, when they played Cincinnati and they lost 34-0, they had a guy named Zion Chris come in who ran the ball quite a bit too. Donovan Smith ran the ball 10 times, so he's a scrambler, and also Zion Chris ran 8 times. But they don't really have, like, looking at their stats for every game, they don't have anybody who stands out. Like, they don't have like a true, like, ooh, their running back's a dog. Oh, this receiver's, watch out for their tight end. Oh, the quarterback. I think they kind of stink. Like
they played one good game at Oklahoma, which Oklahoma's offense. I mean, granted, Tennessee's defense pretty decent, but like Oklahoma's offense looks so bad.
Yeah,
the fact that they're still ranked is wild to me.
They're ranked on because their name is Oklahoma,
and their defense is legit. Like
yes.
Their defense is legit, but their offense is bad. But Houston averaging 13 points a game.
They beat up on Felika's Rice. Bad call by him. Rice is not very good this year. Beat up on Rice and then lost, 1-3.
But so 13 points a game. They are easily the worst as far as Big 12 yardage in the Big 12. The 15th team in the conference as far as total offensive yards per game is Baylor. 364 yards of offense that Baylor gains in an average game. Houston is 70 yards behind that at 294. So not only are they the worst yardage defense in the conference, they're way the worst.
Yeah.
And they got shut out against Cincinnati, who the defense coordinator of Cincinnati is
Tyson Veit,
former Iowa State linebackers coach Tyson Veit, who I imagine
him and Mr. Hickok
probably going to be having a conversation about how did you do this? What did you think of their personnel? What are the things that need to happen for Iowa State to get a win? I think this matchup is a really good fit at a really good time for Iowa State because it's still getting guys back. Like guys like Jalen Travis still need snaps, and the talent at Houston is it's better physically. Like the guys that are going to be on there are physically better than the guys that are at Arkansas State. So it's going to be an opportunity. If there's a pass rush, the dude at Houston that's pass rushing is going to be better than the dude at Arkansas State, except number 17. We got big Jake Latimer.
Yeah.
Big dude. But anyway, they're going to have better players, which gives them an opportunity to do that before you start getting into the rest of the conference season, which it just got weirder. The conference season just got weirder on Saturday.
I think I would rather play Houston. I don't think they're going to be any good this year, but I'd rather play them early in the season than later on when they're starting to gel a little bit. And first year head coach, you're going to have your bumps and bruises. And I don't know how he did in the transfer portal, but it's tough to gel a team together in 1 year, especially a new coach and trying to establish like a new culture and this, that, and the other. But I'm glad Iowa State's got another nice little tune-up game, hopefully, this week.
Before we get into the Iowa State tune-up game against Houston, we do have to thank some sponsors. You know who got a touchdown this weekend?
Aiden Flora.
He did, but he's not part of the ad campaign.
Carson Hansen.
Also not part of the ad campaign.
Bacon died, so he did not.
No, he didn't die.
Moore.
There you go. Tyler Moore, touchdown.
Yes.
The Iowa Pork Produce Association. Do you think that those guys get like an NIL bump for scoring? Do they just get shipped a package of pork?
Yeah, I've
heard, a pork shoulder.
I've heard every time you score, you get a spiral ham.
Oh, great.
Yeah, some nice a package of assortments of spices and
just a honey glaze on top of
it.
Yep. Honey glaze spiralized ham.
Yep. You get a jar of Mahoney Bee's honey and a can of pineapple.
That's nice.
To make a
honey pineapple ham. That's a quality.
That's my
quality
go-to
meal.
That's my go-to Easter.
Iowa Pork Produce Association. Thank you. Also, the additional sponsor, which cyclones2ireland.com. It's everywhere. Saw it on the video boards. It's on every commercial break. If you listen to John and Eric at any point during the game, and it's here. Cyclones2ireland.com. The Aer Lingus College Football Classic. Oh, don't be a dingus. Book with Aer Lingus.
There it is. You've got a great accent. I can't do that.
The trick into an accent. So my brother and I would always try and be like parrots and just like make sounds back with whatever the person making the sound was. And there's like you gotta have like a hook to get into the accent. And the one for Ireland is me and my band got 3rd place in Dublin. You got to just say that like, and then it kind of in your head sounds it. Just Aiden, give it a shot. Me and my band got 3rd place in Dublin.
I can't even understand what you're saying.
Man, oh, come on, Boyle.
I I don't be a dingus. That's all I can do.
Don't be a dingus.
There's
Ireland isn't really in my bag.
There's a guy I work with who's from Ireland, and like I was working with him on a project, and we were sharing screens, and he messed something up. He goes, bollocks. I was like, what'd you say? He goes, bollocks. I go, what is bollocks? He goes, it's like an shit. I like that.
I love
bollocks.
British swearing, like just UK swearing generally. Like Ireland is not part of the UK, but like English, European English swearing, you can get away with so much more stuff.
Yeah, they're very blunt.
The C word in English, like use freely doesn't mean anything. And like if you ever watch The Boys, on Amazon?
Yep.
Oh boy, Aiden, earmuffs. You're not old enough to listen to the language that comes on that show because it is awful. And there's also just substantially inappropriate things. Superhero show, but not really around for kids.
You know who is around for kids, and I want to give a shout out though, is the in-game host. She was a lot better this game than the first game.
Yes. I mean, she took a lot of shit, and I think I feel bad because it was a much better experience for the fans and I'm sure for her. But I also feel bad for her because I guarantee the thing that they were trying to get her is like, hey, we need you to bring the energy. And she did what they told her to do, and then it was just too much. And
everyone's like, it's 105 degrees. We don't want to hear you screaming.
So they listened to feedback. So yes, props to the game day production crew, both her and everybody that was actually listening to it. That was much better. So A+ on that one as far as like learning from the mistakes. Okay, so getting to the Big 12 generally, the first thing I want to start with, what the hell, Baylor?
Oh boy.
Were you guys actually like watching that, or were you just like catch the synopsis of it afterwards?
Synopsis of it. I don't have live TV yet. I'm getting it this week though.
I watched.
I'm frugal.
I think I turned it on
cheap
with like 2 minutes left or something.
That's all you needed to watch.
Yeah, literally.
I looked on Twitter. I saw the highlights. I saw the guy. I saw everyone was like, "Oh my god, he dropped it! He dropped it!" So I saw that where the guy dropped it on like the 5, and then I saw where Shedeur made the Hail Mary. Baylor,
dude, there are so many worse things that happened.
Baylor
around that.
They missed a field goal, right?
Yeah. They missed a field goal from like 45 yards out it was the same thing. If you watch the 49ers and the Rams game, Brock balled out on Sunday.
Get Ronnie Ball out of here, man. Sign Hakeem.
Ronnie Bell.
Whatever.
Anyway.
Did you guys hear what the name of Baylor's defense was?
What?
So they called the defense that they ran Victory Cigar.
Oh, God.
Which, first of all,
like
don't call it that.
To prevent the Hail Mary?
Yeah.
There are so many things wrong with that.
You cannot let that get outside the program.
Oh,
I mean,
So did they have a victory cigar?
No,
they
lost. Didn't. They lost.
And that might be the nail in Aranda's coffin might be like one tap. Like it's kind of going in there, and I've got a feeling Iowa State might be the final hammer.
There's so many things wrong with what Baylor. So Colorado, you have to give them credit for taking advantage of the door that was opened for them.
Sure.
But the door shouldn't have been open. That's the way that I was kind of looking at that game. Shedeur did exactly what he needed to do. He threw 2 bombs that got him where he wanted to. And as much as I don't like the way that they go about interacting with things, on the field, Shedeur Sanders, dog. Off the field, who knows? I don't know him.
Clown.
But the way that Baylor played that, so they drove down. I think it was with maybe a minute and 35 seconds left or something like that. And they had a field goal, which would put them up 10, which essentially ices the game. 10 points. I don't think Colorado had any timeouts left, maybe 1. And 2 scores, not going to happen. It's raining. There's a whole lot of stuff. Pulls it left. I mean, not good from the start. Gone from the start. Then, kickers. But then they drive down the field, and they actually force him into a few long down and distance situations and then let him scramble. Which, why? You know that he's going to run. Spy him. The way that, so when Iowa State beat the pants out of Patrick Mahomes, who, I don't know if you heard, Patrick Mahomes, pretty good. The way that they would rush him in the situations which were like known passing situations, where they would not rush at all on one side, and they would rush really high, meaning like they would put if there's 3 guys rushing, the defensive end on the quarterback's left side, the defensive right side, would end up in front of the center. So he would switch over basically head to head with the quarterback. The guy that was on the nose tackle or the nose tackle, the guy that was on the center, would rush to where a defensive end would normally rush. And the guy that the defensive end on that side would basically try and run around the tackle, just show color to that side. And then they had a spy waiting for him when he did inevitably boot. Because if you rush 3 guys super, super high on that side, you have a spy that's just waiting there because the tackle is going to go with the defensive end that disappears down. And then there's just a spy there that you just run up to press him to throw the ball before he can actually scramble and improvise. You force the timing. Couldn't do it. Hey, that film's been out there for 6 years. When guys are in known passing situations, I cannot understand why you don't do something like that. When you they might run the ball, Colorado can't. So that was the whole drive was stupid. The Hail Mary. Hail Marys, here's for those that don't really know football a ton, and this is just me on my soapbox. I'm just irritated. Just bad football is annoying. I'm talking right. Jeff Scribes. Jeff's big gripes. Jeff's Jeers. Jeff's junk. Nope, not that one.
Yuck. Jeff, this is a family program.
Is it?
Talking about Willie's and Jeff's junk?
My last name's Woody.
Come on, continue.
Anyway, a Hail Mary almost always is going to be a scramble to the field. There is actually a special drop that we had the quarterbacks take, which essentially you're not immediately bootlegging because it gives the defense a different angle to shoot for if you're just catch run. It's catch, set up, almost, I don't remember if it was one hitch. So it's like catch, take a 2 or 3 step drop really fast, take a hitch, and then boot out to the field. The reason why you go to the field is it gives you more opportunity if there is somebody over there to kind of make them wiggle and make them miss, wiggle a little bit. If you go to the boundary, even if it's to the quarterback's throwing side, if there's one person over there, you have offensive line trash that you've left behind. There's now a person in front of you in a sideline to that side. So you don't have as much time to wiggle around to let your receivers get down there and throw the ball. So even if it's to the quarterback's non-throwing hand, you boot to the field. Everyone in the world, everyone in the stadium knows that it's a Hail Mary. Even if he's right-handed, he's booting to the field. They ran 0 people as a pressure from the field. 0. Not one.
If you were Baylor, though, because they had, 2 defenders kind of around where he threw it, why are you on the opposite side of the field? I would force him to, if he's rolling to his left, force him to throw it back across the field. If you have a guy with it, leave him. Leave him and just...
You have rush 4, drop 7.
Make him set his feet with a guy rushing at him and throw it across the field 70 yards.
Yeah, and either way, the biggest thing that you need is because that ball was thrown from the -40 or -35. It was a long throw.
It was a great ball.
Again,
good ball.
Baylor left the door open. Colorado walked through it, but the door shouldn't have been open. Rush him on the field side. Who cares what your quote rush lanes need to be on that play? You make him throw the ball before he's ready so that the receivers aren't in the end zone. So he has to just chuck it 6 miles up in the air to give his, like a punt, to give his guys more time to actually get in the end zone.
Cade McNamara.
Which takes...
500.
Cade ain't getting it there. Cade ain't getting it there. But you have to throw it a mile up in the air, which gives everybody the chance to get under the ball, and then all you have to do is just volleyball spike it down. But when you don't put any pressure on the quarterback, he can hang out until the guy is actually in the end zone and throw it where you want to, which means you then have to stay on your receivers. What are you doing? There are so many bad things on that play that, Dave Aranda is a defensive coach. That was as bad of execution from a rush perspective, from a coverage perspective, from a play call perspective. They brought a blitzer from the field side who ran across the center, meaning he went from Shedur's left side, where he should have been, to Shedur's right side without Shedur moving. Everything about that play was a fireably bad execution of a play. And then to the little shit cherry on top of it, I can relate to this because it has happened before, but the guy fumbled going into the end zone to tie the game in overtime. You got so many more plays. This is not...
What down was it?
It was, I think it's 1st and goal. You got 3 more downs, just 2 hands on the ball, son. The only way that you lose this game is a turnover. If it's 1st and goal or 2nd and goal on the 1, you're going to score. What are you doing? Yeah. Baylor, so...
Hey, they pay players, though.
Oh, my God. So I had to get that off my chest. Now, more broadly speaking about Baylor.
Jeff's year's over.
Jeff's year's over. Jeff's junk.
Yuck.
The thing about this season now for Baylor, were they to win that, they are we're starting to get a little bit of mojo. We might be able to win. I don't know who Baylor has next week. But
maybe save Aranda's job. I think they got UCF.
So if they have UCF, that's a physical fist fight of a game. I don't know who that is. I don't know which team they play. But anyway, next week,
BYU hosting BYU.
Okay, depends. We'll see. We'll see how they come out, because if they lose or if they look uninspired again, and they have to come to Ames with Iowa State presumably 4-0, ranked inside the top 15, if Iowa State takes care of business at Houston. If they lose to BYU, Iowa State will likely be 10.5-point favorite at home with a motivated team.
If they lose to Baylor, they'd be 2-3.
If they lose to BYU, you mean?
Yeah, if Baylor loses to BYU, they'd be 2-3.
2-3 with a 2-game losing streak in conference heading into
a night game in
Ames.
You're not going to win that.
So they're going to be a much less motivated team. The one thing that I fear, not necessarily fear, the one thing that would be the worst case for Iowa State very specifically, Baylor plays next week. They get smoked. Aranda gets fired, and Iowa State then has to play the incoming fill-in coach that first week. That's always the hardest, because it's always the win one for the Gipper thing.
I don't think they'd fire him 2 games into conference, though.
Probably not, depending on what. But if they get embarrassed by BYU, I doubt it, but maybe.
I think rumblings would happen then to get embarrassed again by Iowa State. Then it could happen, because you lose to BYU. You're 2-3. The season's not over. You're 0-2 in conference, staring down the barrel, going 0-3. You could still go 6-6, depending on who they have left in their schedule. Aiden just had up, and I don't remember. They still could go 6-6 and make it to a bowl game.
Yeah, but that's probably not I don't think that's the expectation that they had. So Baylor's schedule is they play at home against BYU.
Chalk it up as a loss. Iowa State loss. At Texas Tech, probably a loss. Oklahoma State loss.
At home against Oklahoma State. So then you're playing TCU rivalry games.
So now they'd have to win the last 4, which are very possible. TCU is not very good this year. At West Virginia, that'd be tough. At Houston, booty cheeks, and then versus Kansas.
At home against Kansas, who at that point is probably playing for something.
Could go 5-7. I would say best 5-7, 6-6. So I wouldn't say that they would fire him, but yeah,
it's not. Doesn't look great.
No. Should we move on to another game that I would like to talk about, Jeff?
What are you talking
about? Avery Johnson's a running back.
The uncle.
Where
are
you at?
Rico.
Are you on my? I've got room. I got room on my.
I'm not officially on the bandwagon, but I'm not. I never thought he was a good player, but I never thought he was trash. But I'm moving away towards.
I don't think he's trash.
Average player.
I don't think he is deserving of the hype. Him and Jalen Daniels, which we're seeing Jalen Daniels, kind of booty cheeks.
Also, can we just say how good Andy Kotelnicki is?
Yes. Well, not only Andy Kotelnicki, but also
Jason Bean,
Colin Klein, and Jason Bean. Colin Klein left to go to A&M.
It's true.
And then Kansas hired the guy that Baylor just fired, their offensive coordinator.
Oh boy, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Jeff Grimes, Aiden's nodding his head. Yes. Kansas did. Kansas hired him. Kansas State, though, they hired internally Connor Riley, who was the offensive line coach. But also, Colin Klein was kind of, an intuitive guy who
played that way. He didn't throw super well, but he overcame it by being smart and physical and knowing his tempo and running game.
He was a lesser athletic Avery Johnson.
Yeah.
So I think had Colin Klein stuck around, which I'd heard he tried to recruit Avery to A&M. Had he stuck around, though, I think those two would have been a match made in heaven. But womp womp.
Yep. And now Kansas State next week. That's a heavy game. That went from being a title contention, like if you win it, you're in the driver's seat. If you lose it, you're still kind of in the mix, depending on what happens. It's not an elimination game, but it's almost an elimination game. This Oklahoma State and Kansas State play.
It absolutely is. For whoever loses that, it's an elimination game.
I can't go that far because you don't know with as much parity still exists in this conference between Utah, UCF, Iowa State, Kansas State's still reasonable. Oklahoma State still there's still enough losses that you might end up with 2 teams with 2 losses. But if you get to 2 losses this early in the season with that much season left to play, it would be really, really hard to make your way back to the conference championship conversation. So Oklahoma State plays at Kansas State this week. It's 11 o'clock kickoff. Kansas State's a 5-point favorite.
I'm not sold on either team, though, if I'm being honest. I think Oklahoma State, much like West Virginia last year, had a lot of bounces that went their way. And, they just lost to Utah, who's a good team. But with Owen Wilson as their wow Isaac Wilson as their quarterback.
Guys, wow.
And Oklahoma State, that's a fun place to play. I mean, they're right on top of you too. The fans are right on top of you.
I remember I caught it. It was an option, but it was technically counted as a pass. But like ran through the first pylon, and it was like 2-step wall.
Oh yeah,
it is.
Then they have those
tight.
They have those like
the paddles.
Paddles are just boom, boom, boom on the
Is it
walls.
closer than Kinnick?
Yes. Well, at times. So it's more like it's like a football shape kind of. So at the goal lines, it's really, really tight versus Kinnick. Kinnick actually brought theirs back when they changed out from grass to turf. Oklahoma is the other one that's like if a fan farts, you smell it. Like that's the kind of space that Oklahoma's at. But Oklahoma State, like at the 50, it's not super tight. But at like the goal line, you really have to be careful when you run into the end zone that you're not like where the wall is.
So like the kicking nets are usually like at the end of the sideline. And I remember Oklahoma State, I would take my 3 steps back and 2 steps over, and I would be like inches from the wall. Like I was right next to the wall. Like, oh, I don't have much room here.
Yeah, because you have the team benches where they go over like, hey, they're in a 3 technique or whatever. The benches have to be towards the middle so guys can get there. So kicking nets have to be towards like on the 20s or the 25s. So it's right already where it starts to tighten down. But
yeah.
Anyway, playing at Kansas State.
Yeah, love seeing Kansas State get blasted though. And I mean, BYU, I'm not sold on BYU. They're playing good. The defense looks good. Everything went their way that game. You see the punt return?
No.
Punt return was nasty. The guy kind of went over his shoulder, kind of bobbled it. 2 Kansas State guys went after him. He kind of a Trevor Ryan'd it. Caught it like on the left side, went back around the right side, and kind of snaked around and took it back for a touchdown. They had a scoop and score for a touchdown. It went from like 6-0 Kansas State to 17-6 real quick. And then next thing you know, it's 31-6.
Yeah, and I don't think in the Kansas State's one of those teams. I would sort of say in obviously very different leagues or very different quality level, but the 49ers, their roster construction and goal is similar to that of Kansas State's in that they're really, really good with playing with a lead. Like they are the Jets. The Jets are probably a better example. The Iowa State Jets or the New York Cyclones. If they have a lead, then you let guys like McDonald go pass rush. You let guys like Sauce Gardner be physical because they're passing. He doesn't have to commit to the run game. They're allowed to run the ball effectively. They can throw it when they need to, but they want to play with the lead. Kansas State wants to play with the lead. If you invert that, then why the reason why the 49ers smoked the Jets is because they got out early, and the Jets aren't made to play from behind, and the 49ers are meant to play with the lead. Kansas State, if they get up on you, then it turns into Arizona really fast because they can run the ball. Avery Johnson doesn't really throw it all that well, so they can just run it, and then set that defensive line loose. But if you get up on them like that 17-6, they have to throw their way back into it, and they can't do that. So like the first few quarter and a half against Kansas State is really important to make sure you establish the tempo of the game, and are they playing with the lead or playing from behind?
Yeah, get them establish the lead quick and make Avery Johnson beat you. He was 15 of 28, not bad. 130 yards, not good.
15 completions for 130 yards.
Yeah,
good. That's nice.
Average of 4.6. So check down Merchant, but he ran the ball 11 times for 74 yards, which that's his strength. I think he's
a good runner.
He's a very good runner. But I love to see it. Obviously, I'm a very anti K-State, so good to see that. Obviously, Cincinnati beat Houston. Talk about that.
Smoked Houston.
Smoked them. So I think Iowa State should. Also on the message boards for Houston, they were talking about, can we beat Iowa State? And a lot of fans are saying, can we score on Iowa State? Because Cincinnati is better this year, but I have to imagine Iowa State's defense is still, I don't think I'm being biased in saying this, still better than Cincinnati.
I think we can pretty safely say that Iowa State is the best secondary in the conference.
Yeah.
You'd be hard pressed to find a better secondary unit. The front 7 for Utah might be better, but like the secondary for Iowa State, which is where you're going to probably be playing from behind because Iowa State's offense is, between Bramer and Knoll and Higgins and Rock, and just a whole group, you're going to probably get a score or two, which means you're going to have to throw your way back into it, which is exactly where Iowa State wants you to be.
Well, one thing I love seeing too, which we didn't talk about, versus the Arkansas State, is we saw 83 guys played. So a lot of guys got in, and you're able to see the depth, like who's behind Bramer and Moore and Burkle, and just see the guys. Saw Mobley out there. Mobley looks like he's gonna be a dog.
Yeah,
he looked pretty good.
Good looking cat.
Dylan Lee looked pretty good. So it was. You know
fun. What's wild? Just completely separate. Southie Spoke had the backfield of Mobley and Sama, and we're running behind Caden Proctor. That
Never heard of him.
that that was like a cheat code. Like Iowa high school, that's not fair. Which, anyway, I just think it's funny that like those three guys who eventually are all going to be pretty damn successful players. We're in the same team.
Yeah.
Anyway,
go Rams or something.
Go Rams. Yep. Hey, Southeast Bowl.
But I thought it was cool. You're able to see, you can see the depth chart. And sometimes Campbell, I think he kind of BS's it sometimes of the ors or this, that, and the other. Kind of wish we just saw Cole a little bit. We're up quite a bit, but I get it. Moberly needs to get his reps. He's a true freshman. But I enjoyed seeing all the backups play. On to some more games, though, unless you want to talk about anything else right there. SMU just put it to TCU. Sonny Dykes got booted from the game, too.
Which is insane.
Yeah. Which he used to coach at SMU.
Yeah, didn't he kind of give a little rah-rah to the crowd?
Yeah, he did. On his way out, he kind of gave like a fist bump.
That was bad. TCU's defense, because I think last week is when they had a lead against UCF, or the previous week they had a lead against UCF. It was like 28-3, and then gave up like 31 unanswered in the second half, and then just gave up 66 to SMU. So in the past like 6 quarters, they've given up 95 points.
Yeah, so I think TCU may not be very good, but you can't fire a coach when you just got to the national championship 2 years ago, right? I think he's at least probably longer than that. But that, and then Texas Tech beat Arizona State, which I think Arizona State might be a little fool's gold. West Virginia beat Kansas. Kansas is still struggling. 1-3 on the year.
Kansas offensively, they really miss Andy Kotelnicki. Like and
I think Jason Bean. I don't think people gave him enough credit because they're like, oh, Jalen Daniels is way better. I liked Bean as a player.
Yeah, and the thing is that like you can make anything work with a creative play call, like with a creative scheme that understands the strengths of your guys and then creatively applies the strength of those guys. Like one of the cool things that Kansas would do is they would do a ton of trades and motions and unbalanced sets. You have like a second to figure out. They'd have like,
I feel like they've disguised a lot of stuff similar to how Iowa State disguises stuff in their defense.
Yeah, it's a ton. And so like you have to figure it out really fast, which then Jalen Daniels, at least to this point, without Kotelnicki, he's not that good of a passer. In the same way that Avery Johnson isn't, but a creative scheme makes it so your guys they're much more open, so you don't have to throw into coverage, so you can throw on time, you can establish a running game easier, and then everything is easier with a quarterback when there's no one really covering your guys because they're creatively applying space. And whoever they get, there's a reason why Kotelnicki just made an ass load of money going to Penn State. I think they're missing him a lot, and I don't know if they're really going to be able to salvage too much of it by the time the season goes along. So I feel like, broadly speaking, the Big 12 has Utah, Iowa State, and UCF are serious contenders. You can't write off Oklahoma State and Kansas State just yet after one loss. But I think beyond that, I don't really see. I mean, BYU, they're undefeated and they just beat the piss out of Kansas State. So like, you'd be remiss not to at least mention them. But it's one of those things like a fool me once, where if it was it reminds me of the Kansas game, the Kansas basketball game against Iowa State when Trey King made like 5 threes. I was like, all right, you make one, I'm still going to play off of you. You make another one, okay. And then you make 3 or 4 of them, and they're okay. I believe that you can actually shoot. I'm in. BYU's made 2 threes in this game so far. I need to see more of them in order to change my opinion of them. But I would say BYU would have to kind of be around that Oklahoma State-ish level, or the loser of the Kansas State-Oklahoma State game. But it feels like right now, Utah, Iowa State, and UCF are the ones that have the goods to be the Big 12 title, which is a cool thing to feel.
I think BYU is a much different team on the road than they are at home. They beat SMU 18-15 at SMU, so like not very impressive. But then they beat Southern Illinois, at home, put up 41, and then obviously K-State at home. So they travel to Baylor, and Baylor's a 3-point favorite.
Yeah,
which I don't think Baylor's that good, but I don't think BYU plays that well, away from home. But then they still have to play, Arizona, Oklahoma State, UCF, Utah in consecutive weeks, and then Kansas, Arizona State, Houston. So like,
yeah, and Arizona they weren't on my list of like contenders.
No.
Well, they're play at Utah this week.
Yeah,
and Rising may or may not play. And then the other one that's kind of interesting is Texas Tech. I don't think they're very good. I think they're not very good. I think they're in that BYU category.
Sure.
I think Texas Tech and BYU are pretty comparable in that like they have the capacity to beat anyone, but I don't think that they're going to beat everyone. They'll finish like 8-4, beat some teams that are going to be in contention. Like they might take down a Utah. They might take down BYU, Utah. Go Cougs, man.
Yeah.
Go Cougs. Wild week.
What's your prediction for the game for the Iowa State Houston game?
It's like 27-3.
I think we'll put up way more points than that.
I mean, you'd think that Fritz is going to get them to understand execution better, and now that they've had a taste of the Big 12 schedule and whatever. But I mean, Iowa State's just better. So I don't think that Houston's going to be able to score enough. The biggest thing that Iowa State needs, I mean, when you're playing a team that you are better than, which Iowa State is better than Houston, you need to make sure that you take care of, just dot your I's and cross your T's. Turnovers, special teams, and Iowa State has done a really good job of turnovers and special teams, which lends me to think that that's going to be comfortable. I just, maybe this is me being, I don't want to set my expectations too high, but I feel like it's a 27-3, but not a super tight game. But I do think that Houston has the capacity and athletes to make some plays here or there. So it's not going to be like it's not going to be this game. 52-7 when it was like never fair matchup. I feel like that's kind of the thing that I'm expecting. 27-3-ish.
I think if Houston rolls out a different quarterback or Smith has a really short leash and they bring out a new quarterback, I think they could throw in some wrinkles. Maybe Iowa State hasn't seen before, and it's a close-ish game in the first quarter. But I see Iowa State winning this game like 38 or 41-10.
I mean, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be just a beatdown.
Heading into a big Fox night game.
I think it's gonna be a beatdown. So yeah, be really great. Start 4-0. Like I said, only the third time in program history it's ever happened. First time since 2000. With a chance to go 5-0, something that has never happened in Iowa State football history. So, we are on the precipice. Is that the right word?
Precipice? Yeah.
Of a potentially a great season.
Papusa.
Papusa. You ever had a papusa? Delicious.
It's good.
Yeah. My brother does spring break pupusas. He's a teacher, so he'll go around and eat pupusas at different Des Moines locations, and he'll give reviews. And yeah.
God bless pupusas.
Yep. Got anything else?
Nope.
All right, sweet. Thank you to Aiden White behind the glass for producing. Thank you to Jeff Woody for allowing me to join his program again. And as always, remember, adopt. Oh, thank you to all of our loyal listeners as well, too. But you can adopt, yeah. Still adopt. And don't shop.